Zandora wasn't a city. It was a fever dream dressed in gold and stitched together with secrets. From the spires of the diamond-studded skyline to the neon glint of Baccali clubs, the air itself smelled like saffron and sin. Power was perfume. Money was gospel. And those who didn't belong learned to hold their breath. Ayra had mastered the art of holding her breath. She lived in a studio the size of a whisper, wedged between two decaying towers on Old Zara Street, where the walls peeled like old scabs and the plumbing coughed through the night. Her world was pigment and silence. Barefoot and braless, her bronze skin slicked with sweat, she stood over her latest canvas, chaotic, blood-red strokes slicing across a ruined white background. She painted like a woman unraveling. The city didn't know her name. But it would. The knock on the door was soft but sharp. Like a silk glove hiding a blade. It didn't belong in this part of town. Nothing polished ever did. When she opened it, a man in a slate grey suit handed her a black card embossed in gold. No words exchanged. Just a nod, a flicker of recognition in his eyes, and then silence. Zurek Foundation. Midnight Gala. The Atrium. Private invitation. Ayra stared at it like it was a trick. A scam, maybe. But the weight of the card told a different story. Thick. Expensive. Serious. It smelled like wealth and danger. By midnight, she found herself stepping into a world she'd only ever painted, never touched. The atrium was suspended in glass and opulence. Golden arches carved like music, chandeliers dripped crystal rain from the ceilings, and everyone glided rather than walked. It wasn't just rich. It was obscene. And she, in her thrifted red dress with a slit too high for comfort, became an unspoken question in a room full of answers. Then she saw him. Mikael Saro. He didn't blend in, even among gods. He was all sharp edges and cold fire. 6 foot something, dressed in black silk that clung to his form like it had been poured on. His skin was a deep amber, burnished, dangerous, and his hair slicked back like ink frozen in motion. But it was his eyes that undid her. Stormy grey, like thunderclouds trapped in glass. Calm, unreadable, lethal. He watched her from across the room. Not like a man admiring a woman. No. Like a man assessing a weapon. Or claiming what was already his. She tried to look away. Failed. They didn't speak. Not at first. But the tension was a presence between them, thick, coiled, waiting. Hours passed. Wine. Music. Crowds blood. And then suddenly, she was alone on the rooftop garden, wrapped in moonlight and silence, and he was there.
"You're late,"
he said, voice like velvet dragged across stone. She blinked.
Late for what?
"For the rest of your life."
He stepped closer, holding a single black rose dipped in gold. She didn't take it. But something inside her already had. He didn't ask her name. Didn't need to. He already knew it. Knew more than he should have. And when he looked at her, it wasn't curiosity, it was hunger. Familiar. Intimate. Ayra's hands were trembling when she left that night. But her mouth still tasted like his name. In the days that followed, the city changed shape. A sleek black car started following her home. Gifts arrived without notes, rare paints, antique sketchbooks, imported wine. She would find things moved in her studio, slightly touched. As if someone had been there. Watching. She should have been afraid. But she wasn't. Not quite. What she felt was worse. She felt seen. Then came the night he appeared without warning. She came home late, rain in her hair, keys clutched like a weapon. The lights were on. He was seated in her armchair, legs crossed, reading one of her journals with the calm entitlement of a man flipping through a magazine. She froze.
You broke in.
She hissed.
I let myself in.
He replied.
You leave the window unlatched. Every night.
His voice was quiet, unhurried. The kind of voice that didn't need to raise itself to command. There was no apology. No shame.
I invested.
He continued, closing the journal.
In you. In your chaos. Your silence. Your fire.
He stood then, slowly, deliberately. Every movement elegant, deliberate. He walked toward her, his eyes never leaving hers. When he reached her, his hand brushed her jaw.
You don't paint for glory.
He murmured.
You paint to survive. You bleed on the canvas, Ayra. And you think no one sees. But I do. I've always seen you.
Her breath caught.
How long have you been watching me?
His lips curled, almost a smile.
Long enough to know you're mine.
The kiss was inevitable. Devastating. His mouth found hers with a brutal grace, and her body melted into him like it had always known the shape. He was heat and muscle, control and chaos. Her shirt was off before she knew it. His belt unbuckled. They crashed into the canvas, paint smearing across skin. He left bruises on her hips like promises. She clawed his back like a woman drowning in fire. When it ended, they lay tangled on the floor. His breath against her throat, her body humming with aftershock. And then he said it, low and possessive, like a vow whispered to the gods.
I'll keep the world out for you. Just say the word.
She didn't speak. Didn't need to. She was already spiraling. That night, she slept in his penthouse. It wasn't a home. It was a fortress of glass and marble, high above the city. No noise reached this high. Only silence and shadows. He wrapped her in silk sheets. Brushed a kiss to her shoulder. Watched her fall asleep with a gaze that burned. But something woke her near dawn. A whisper of instinct. A knot in her gut. She slid from the bed, bare feet silent on marble. One drawer was cracked open. Just enough. Inside, she found sketches. Dozens of them. Her face. Her body. Her smile. Drawn from angles she never posed for. Some were from months ago. Moments she hadn't even known she was being watched. Her breath caught in her throat. He hadn't just found her. He had studied her. Followed her. Loved her before she even knew he existed. Behind her, in the darkened room, he shifted in the bed, still asleep. Still hers. And outside, the city of Zandora sparkled like a light told too beautifully to question. Zandora was soft in the morning. For once, the city didn't roar. It breathed. Golden light slipped through the penthouse's glass walls, laying itself gently across the silver bedding where Ayra lay still, eyes open, heartbeat cautious. Beside her, Mikael slept like a man unburdened. His chest rose and fell with elegance, not peace. Even asleep, he looked deliberate. She hadn't meant to stay. Her body had simply refused to move. Her gaze drifted toward the ceiling, then to his hand resting near hers on the sheets. It wasn't touching her, not quite. But its presence was a declaration. She turned her face to him, his lashes still, his lips parted slightly, the illusion of softness over a mind that had been hunting her long before their first hello. Ayra slipped from the bed. The bathroom was just as sleek as the rest of the space, marble, black and gold, minimalist. She splashed her face, avoiding her reflection for as long as she could. But when her eyes finally rose to meet her own, she whispered it. You knew and you stayed. She stared at the woman in the mirror. The one who once swore no man would ever own her again. Who now stood in silk, in his world, still wrapped in the scent of him. He was already in the kitchen when she returned. Dressed in black again, always black. A button down, sleeves rolled to the forearms. His hair was slightly tousled, like he'd just run a hand through it while making decisions worth millions. The windows flooded the room with sunlight and silence.
I wasn't sure if you liked sweet or bitter,
he said, offering her a cup.
so I went with strong.
His voice was casual, smooth. Like he hadn't been caught owning a drawer full of her face, her posture, her breath on paper. Like he hadn't whispered possession between her shoulder blades the night before. She took the cup. Her hands didn't shake, but her pulse did. He made breakfast like a man who had always done it for one. He plated hers first, then his. No rush. No demand.
You don't have to stay.
He said, finally sitting across from her.
But you'll want to.
She blinked.
You don't ask. You predict.
He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes.
I study. I collect. And when the time comes, I claim.
The knife in her hand slowed as it sliced through avocado. Every word was a wire. She put the utensil down. You don't even flinch at how insane that sounds.
I flinch when I'm wrong.
He said simply.
And I haven't been.
Later, he invited her to a private gala. He called it the soft show at the Helios Spire. She knew the place, rumored to house the city's oldest money. Zandora's elite. And now, her. In the bedroom, her gown waited. Crimson silk, high slit, bareback. Her measurements were exact. You had this made, she said, fingers brushing the fabric.
Before we met. I had it made when I knew you'd say yes.
That night, Zandora glittered as if trying to match her. The gown clung to her like a whisper. Michael's hand never left her lower back. They entered the spire and the world turned to stare. She had it before she saw who said it. The street girl with the paint fingers. Michael didn't look toward the voice. He just leaned closer.
They'll learn.
He murmured.
Zandora belongs to the ones who dare to take.
She didn't breathe for a second. Because part of her agreed. Back in the penthouse, she moved through the silence differently. Not like a guest. Like a woman who had survived something invisible. He poured her wine. She declined. He didn't push. While he showered, she wandered. Past the studio corner. Past the antique shelf. Past the piano he never played. And there, behind the dresser drawer she hadn't checked before, another sketch. Older. Torn at the edges. Smudged from touch. It was her again. Her body turned toward the window, her hand resting against the glass. But this time, the background wasn't neutral. It was this penthouse. The same walls. The same silver sheets. The same glass behind her silhouette. He hadn't just drawn her face. He had drawn her here. In this place. In his space. Before she ever stepped foot into it. She heard the door click behind her. Felt his presence like shadow.
You weren't supposed to see that.
He said, towel draped around his neck, shut undone. But you left it. She said. Her voice didn't tremble. You always do. He didn't apologize. Didn't excuse.
I saw you before the city gave you to me. That sketch. It's not a fantasy. It's a promise fulfilled.
Her breath stuck in her throat. So what am I now? Yours. His gaze didn't soften.
You were mine the moment I saw you painting beside that train station, barefoot, furious, divine.
She looked down at the drawing again. She should have run then. But instead, she folded the paper gently and placed it back. That night, she lay beside him again. This time, she didn't touch him. Didn't face him. But she stayed. Zandora shimmered beyond the glass, too loud, too bright. She closed her eyes, knowing sleep wouldn't come. She didn't know what this was. Only that she would never be free from it again.